Hi guys, and welcome back to another AA podcast. Luckily today I'm joined by James. James, you there?
Yes, I am indeed. Hi, Adam. What's going on?
Hi, how are you? You good?
Yeah,
How's lockdown treating you?
yeah, I'm fine. It's a bit boring right now. Missing football, missing coaching, missing all that type of stuff. But we got to do what we got to do and stay.
Definitely, man. Same here. I've spoken to a lot of coaches after the last few days, and they're all struggling. They want to be back out on that grass.
Trust me, we really, really do miss it.
Okay, man. So the topic of conversation today is going to be around the impact of the current situation. So as most of you know, we're currently in lockdown, and Premier League, along with all other English leagues and world leagues, are currently on hold. So today we're going to talk about the teams, the players, the coaches, the fans, and what we think's the reasonable solution for the situation. Because at the moment there's a lot of anxiety around, will the season finish, will it not? But firstly, what team do you support, James? How's this affecting you and your team?
I'm an Arsenal fan right now, and going by the season, it's actually not bad to have a lockdown because we haven't been doing that well this year, and not to see them play for a while, it's good for my health.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm a Watford fan, so coming from the bottom half of the table, I'm not minding some of the solutions that I'm seeing on the internet at the moment. But firstly, I know there's a lot of Liverpool fans out there. I was lucky enough to go to America last year with a massive Liverpool fan. I play football with a Liverpool fan. They're struggling at the moment. Well, what do you think in their eyes? Do you think the season should just be handed to them?
I look at this from this point of view is that Liverpool were on an historic run. Like they were going to get over 100 points. They were going to get they were going to do the Invincibles, but a certain team called Watford had to let them know that there's only one team about. But personally, I look at this Liverpool team and I just believe that they've run away with this league so much. They're 20 points clear. Are you telling me that they don't deserve to be champions? Like we will look back at this regardless of what happens and realize that wow, Liverpool really done something special. And for me, what they've done this year is it does deserve a Premier League title. They should not have to go through this whole season and not get something for it. Like what they won 24 games, scored 60 odd goals this season. They've absolutely dominated this league, and like for them not to be awarded something, I think it's actually going to be really unfair. To be fair.
Okay, well, what do you say to those? I've got a lot of City fans, especially coming from Etihad in Wembley. What would you say that mathematically Liverpool haven't quite won it yet? Don't get me wrong, they're on track. I'd put my money on Liverpool to win it, but mathematically it's not done. Do you think that, let's say, the season finishes as we are now, do you think it's okay for the Premier League to give that title?
It depends how we're looking at it, because the title race to me is done and dusted. That's fine. It's
Okay.
for me lower down. That's the biggest problem. There's so much uncertainty with the relegation and top four positions. For me, that's the main thing. But looking at Man City, can Man City win 10 or 15 games straight? Yes, they can. They did it last season. But are Liverpool going to lose
Definitely.
10 straight games? No.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know,
question.
that's for me. That's the thing that I generally can't see. Liverpool have lost one game this year. They're not going to lose 10 in a row. But as a lot of people say, it is football, and you never know.
Good man. Sticking around the teams, if we move down a couple of places, Champions League spots. This one's a bit more on the controversial side. I think anyone listening would agree that Liverpool pretty much have the season done and dusted if the season were to continue. However, Champions League places, there's teams around that 5th and 6th spot fighting for those places that maybe could argue that with a couple of wins could go and jump into those places. What do you think that what should the resolution be to these Champions League places if we're not continuing the season?
I think it's so sticky because not only do we have the top four, but with Man City's Champions League problem with them not going to be in
Even
Champions
Europa League.
even like Europa League, they might be the 5th spot also up for grabs too now to get into the Champions League, and having teams like Tottenham, Manchester United, Wolves, Arsenal, Chelsea all fighting for the spot. that is something that is so unpredictable because the whole season when it comes to top four has been unpredictable. There hasn't been no consistent team throughout the whole season. So we literally, no one can come here and tell me that, oh, Chelsea's definitely going to get Champions League or Manchester United is definitely going to get Champions League. That is the biggest uncertainty in this whole saga, and I just feel
Definitely.
I just feel like there's like it's hard to say because there's so many different solutions for it. But if we end the season right now and let's say I'm not sure who's in the top four. I think it goes Leicester, Chelsea, and Man United. We can't end like that,
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Moving down, is your same views, especially on the lower half of the table. I find it remarkable if anything happens to the teams in the relegation places. As a Watford fan, I'm quite glad about that because we're not having the best of seasons. Nigel's come in, he's done well with the boys to get us where we are now. However, I'm looking at the relegation, and especially in today's current situation, if the season were to get postponed, would you then be looking at a 22 team Premier League next season with no relegations this season?
That would be the oddest thing ever, to be fair. But I think you look at it. I think the two teams in the Championship, they need to go up. Having
Definitely.
Leeds, who for me, I think the Premier League Leeds need the Premier League, and the Premier League need Leeds. They're such a big team, and I want to see them in the Premier League. I'm pretty sure you also want to see them there. They deserve to be in.
Definitely.
It. To say that,
Go on, mate. Go on.
To say that, okay, we're gonna have a 20 season. It's really hard because you have a team like Norwich, for instance, who they're practically down already. There's two slots that are available, and for us to kind of say, oh yeah, teams should go down. Like the amount of money in the Premier League is so big, and if you're a team, you want to go down fighting. You don't want to let them tell you that, oh yeah, we're gonna end the season right now, and you're just gonna have to go down. I think that's really unfair.
Exactly. You touched upon there the sort of the money involved in football, and if this was to happen in the Premier League and the Championship, I'm assuming that being through the FA, it'd have to escalate and cause a domino effect around the whole football league, really, because we've got clubs in conference that if they get moved up to the second division, I mean financially for them, that's something else, especially if they're in the promotion places at the moment. Okay, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a technical issue. However, me and James were just discussing how it would affect the finances, especially down the lower end of the league. Teams such as, I know personally, teams such as like Barnet, they're in the conference at the moment. They've actually had to let go of all their staff at the moment just because of financial difficulties. How will that impact the teams, especially if they're looking to promote themselves going into the Football League next season? What happens in that situation?
I feel like that's the biggest thing because you look at the Premier League and the amount of money coming from the TV revenue and all that type of stuff is massive. I don't think the Premier League teams are really going to have to worry that much. It's lower down that's the biggest problem. I personally do believe that maybe Premier League teams might need to somehow make some money up to offer teams in the lower leagues like League One, like League Two, like even especially in the conference, like because not just the teams, your players also, your players there that for instance, like they're gonna run their contract down, like and like because of this pandemic, they're not gonna be in a job for the next few weeks, and like some of these players,
Definitely.
let's say earning like £100 a week from it. So for me, that's the biggest thing is to
100%.
mainly focus on like the lower teams and like their problem because Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Premier League teams, like for instance, you look at the average wage for a Premier League player is 50k a week. Are you telling me if you take a pay cut of like 20%, how much is that really gonna affect your financial status?
Exactly.
But you making all that money, you have players like Mesut Ozil and all, like they earn high amounts of money. Them guys are fine. It's the ones lower down that's the biggest problem there. Like especially free agents, like players who let's say were playing June. So what's gonna happen there? Are they gonna come back? Are they gonna come back, or are they gonna extend their deal for another 2 more months? A lot of football. There's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Do you know what? I'll just touch on what you just went on there. The wages, the wages that players realistically are they sticking to the training regimes, the training intensity, and the schedules given to them by the clubs? Are they earning the wages that they usually would if the season were to continue? If the season were to continue, they'd be at a training ground 5 days a week, and they'd play 1 or 2 matches a week at high intensity. Are we really to believe that players are at home training to the intensity, the schedule, to therefore earn the wages in which their contract gives them in retrospective?
For me, that's hard to say. I don't want to criticize football players or anything like that, because we do know how hard,
definitely.
They work very, very hard. Like, I'll give them that. To play at a Premier League standard, it's a lot of hard work. But to say that they don't, again, they get stupid amount of money anyway. Are you telling me that a couple of them aren't willing to take, I don't know, maybe a month of no salary?
Definitely. We're seeing that.
We're
seeing that. We're seeing some players actually giving back, especially in today's situation. Like, a lot of players donating a lot of money to the NHS and stuff. So we're seeing some positives, especially coming from the players, and maybe some fans. Luckily enough, I looked into this last night. Done our research before we came and spoke about it today. Some fans aren't aware of this. Some fans still think that most Premier League players are sitting at home, sitting with their families, and still earning the same amount. There's a majority of the Football League clubs in which pay a certain percentage considering the current situations, and most players are actually helping the club by not arguing too much about this and actually taking and giving back to the community, which is really good to see.
But I feel like Premier League footballers are always going to have that perception of these guys being stuck up, arrogant guys who make a book ton of money to kick a football around. They've always had
Definitely.
that type of stereotype around them. But you look at a lot of players do a lot of good. There's a lot of players.
100%.
About they donate a lot of money. So I can never criticize Premier League football players, because I know how much a lot of them actually give back.
Definitely not. So what we're going to move on to now is actually the fans. So myself, you as well, we're both football fans. What was your opinion, or what was your state of mind when you heard the decision to postpone the season?
Disappointed, but
Okay.
I could get it.
Yeah.
The way this pandemic is going, especially with how easily this whole virus can be passed on. The first thing you have to look at was things like football, big events. We needed to get out, because we can't have a state where one person has it, he comes to a game and he passes it on to him, her, and
Thousands. Especially how
look
close
at
you are.
You look at the Arsenal team. The Olympiacos owner had it. He had no clue about it. Arteta got it. I'm not sure if any player got it. I'm not sure if any player had it, but our manager ended up getting it. And I'm pretty sure he was in contact with a lot of people in that time. So
Definitely, I think the whole team
definitely
isolated.
the right decision.
100%. It's really good to see actually that through these times that most clubs are still interacting with their fans. I'm sure you're up to date with Arsenal have a lot of interactions through their social media. Watford as well. Watford were on a Instagram live yesterday doing their workouts, their cycle ride with Ben Foster. Do you think it's good and clubs should do it more often to actually still interact with the fans, especially in these times?
It's absolutely vital. It's absolutely vital because a lot of people are going through dark times right now. A lot of people are losing, let's say, they're losing their jobs, they're actually losing loved ones, and sometimes just having one of your favorite players coming in and maybe just going on like Instagram and actually interacting with the fans, it actually puts a smile on your face. It's just like going to a football game and like getting your favorite player's shirt. You know, it really, really makes you there. And I feel like it's vital that like we see these players interact and show that they're actually human. Like they're not Superman, right? We might see them on a football field and like they're scoring all these great goals, but they are human at like the end of the day. And them to sit down and like take time to help people, for me, it's a great thing to see.
Definitely, couldn't agree more. So, from a fan perspective, do you want the season to continue? When this pandemic calms down, do you want the season to continue?
I think there's so much around that for me it's hard to say.
Okay.
At this moment in time, I'm undecided because if we do have the season continuing, we still have the FA Cup to finish, we still have Champions League to get done, and we also still have 14 games left.
Definitely agree. It's a long term. Like, is it the time period that maybe?
It's not something that can be done in like 3 weeks.
Okay.
Or so.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's going to be a thing where you're going to have to play, rest, and like we know what a Premier League schedule is like. You're training every day, preparing for the match on a Saturday and like Sunday. And like if we are going to continue the whole campaign again, we're going to have to go another 2 to 3 months of football. So then what's going to happen to the players who are out of contract? What's going to happen to, for instance, the upcoming season? There's a lot of factors around that like it's hard to say that we need to continue the season. It's not like basketball, for instance, where you might play 3 games a week. You know,
okay, yeah,
there's a lot of pain and like a lot of stress on your body to complete 90 minutes, and for us to get these players to try to complete 3 or 4 90 minutes a week, I mean, it's going to be hard.
Just playing devil's advocate to that, do you think there's a different level of intensity between a basketball match and maybe a football player who plays on a Saturday but then will still train 5 times a week from set hours? Or do you think that it's less stressful to train less but play more matches? Look, just comparing it to the NBA, like, could this be a route that the FA and English leagues could go down? Maybe increase the amount of matches per week?
From the point of view of, you look at the intensity of both games. A football player covers how much distance in a game? Probably about 7 to 8 kilometers.
Yeah, I think it's roughly 7 to 9.
7 to 9 kilometers a game. You know, that is a lot to take in. And like, if we're asking them to play 3-4 games a week, like Jurgen Klopp was already complaining in around January when like his Liverpool team were told to play 12 games in a space of like 3 weeks, and like for us to ask these footballers to do that, I think it's very, very unrealistic. Like NBA, it's great, but you have a lot of soft start. You won't cover as much distance. In fact, you can come in and come out, have a breather in that time. It's not as much stress as playing football.
It's about 4 kilometres in an NBA game, just to let you know. It's just about 4 kilometres, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's 2 completely different ball games, you know.
Definitely. Just a thought. I'm a fan of football. I've got a season ticket. My season ticket, I'm a Watford fan, so hence it's not as expensive. Let's say I've got a lot of Manchester or big London clubs who own season tickets. 14 games left of the season. Roughly, on average, 7 home games left. As a fan, I want those games to be played. However, I understand that the importance of the health of the nation. What happens if those games aren't played? Because financially, clubs are struggling already.
For me, I think we have to look beyond that, because a lot of football fans already complain about season tickets, and especially with football clubs already struggling and having to ask players to get pay cuts. The one thing that I always see teams always doing is turn to the fans. And
Definitely.
the one thing I don't want to see is them starting to bump up season ticket prices.
No, they can't.
Because you look at it, it's already hard to get to a Premier League football game anywhere for someone like me who doesn't have a season ticket. And like me being an Arsenal fan, who Arsenal have the most expensive
Yeah,
in
correct.
the world.
Yeah,
I just hope that they don't like use this. I just hope that generally that they don't use this to actually affect the fans in the long term, and like it'll get to a point where it's actually not financially possible for fans to actually get the game.
definitely, definitely. From that outlook, what do you think? I know this is thinking outside the box a little bit. What do you think the fans and players would feel if the season had to be finished? The season was finished, but behind closed doors. Do you think fans and players would actually prefer to play behind closed doors, or to avoid the season as a whole? Because I know that when the Europa League matches came to a close, a couple of games were behind closed doors because of the virus, and players actually said, "What's the point in playing? We're not playing for the fans."
I think we all know that the most important thing. Obviously, players are like, very important, but to create a whole football game, and especially at the level of professional, fans are so important. You look at home games. The reason
Definitely.
one of the best reasons about playing a home game is that you have your home fans there. You have
Yeah.
80% of the crowd on your side. I remember watching the PSG second leg against Borussia Dortmund, and Neymar scored a goal. He goes crazy, and like you're waiting for the big roar of fans when he scored, but it wasn't that.
Nothing.
You could just hear a few of his teammates celebrating with him, and it isn't the same. But I look at this from the point of view that I do want to see sports being played again. I do want to see football being played again, and I feel like that might be a route that they might have to take. Personally, you know.
So if it's the safest and healthiest route for the
For
nation,
me, that
I think more
the
people
most
prefer
important
that.
thing for players is the most important thing for the whole thing is that people are safe. Forget about all the money. Like people need to be safe because
Yeah.
the way people are dying from this virus is ridiculous. So it's the safest route possible.
Okay, brilliant stuff. What we're going to move on to is we're just going to move on to a coach's mindset, especially in these times, through the top level, elite level, and also the lower levels. As the guys know on the podcast, I coach at TFA. What they don't know is that you actually come and coach. You coach at TFA also. You've been there longer than me, if I may add. First of all, what's your coaching experiences like? What's your experience? Where do you coach?
I've been coaching for like a while now. I started coaching when I was 15, but only kind of dabbled into it. I was more up on the playing side, but since I've got into university, I've really taken coaching proper seriously right now because you have to look for an avenue after just playing football. You have to look for something to do after that, and coaching was something that I'm really, really interested in, and especially joining TFA. It really, really gave me that urge to start coaching and like taking it seriously and like getting my coaching badges, and just like I realized I love helping other people. I love like bettering
Brilliant,
people in a way, and like coaching just a great avenue for that person.
Brilliant, man. So in these times, going from our level, we're level 1, 2, and UEFA B coaches here, all the way up to the elite level. What roles do we undertake in these times? Usually we'd be on the pitch, we'd be coaching, we'd be helping others, we'd be improving the next generation of players. But what roles can we do, especially in lockdown at the moment?
I feel like, especially for a place, a whole company like TFA, I feel like what they're doing right now is great. I'm sending out real videos to just keep the kids busy while they're at home. It's absolutely great right now. You putting on coaching sessions and like giving players challenges to do like kicking the ball into the bin. It's just something to do in that time. Like at the end of the day, it's that they're home right now, and I'm pretty sure that there's really nothing to do. And the best thing to do for a lot of these kids is just play football, and especially us giving them the opportunity to still coach them while they're home. For me, it's just a really great thing to see.
Definitely, I couldn't agree with you more, especially in these times. Myself, yourself, we're at home. We're still trying to do the things that we would do on the pitch, help, motivate, teach the next generation. But going on to those elite coaches, those, let's say, Premier League coaches at the moment, what do you think do they do the same with their players, or are they more on the psychological side of things at the moment?
I feel like the most important thing for them right now is to make sure that majority of your players are still at that physical peak. It's hard to get that because the most important thing for football players is to actually play football games. But their thing is just to make sure that the majority of these guys are still doing the exercises, is still keeping to that standard, you know.
Definitely.
Me being an Arsenal fan, I'm hearing Miguel Arteta has a lot of FaceTime meetings with the whole team, making getting to know the players personally. You know, like at this moment in time, you can't really coach, so you can't really coach the players. So like what he's doing right now is just speaking to them, understanding their personal life, what's going on, and like getting to know them not just as the player, but as the person also.
Definitely, as you said there, man management is still a factor within coaching, like especially
probably the most important thing. You look at a coach like Sir Alex Ferguson. Every player that plays under him, you ask him what's Ferguson's best quality. His management. He's the type of guy that will tell you that you're not going to play this week, but you're going to play next week, and you're going to score the winning goal, and it happened. Like players like Chicharito, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know, if you can really keep these players on their toes as much as possible and like manage them the best way, it just, you know, it really creates a great culture.
Definitely, man. Just to preach that at all levels, even though you can't be on the field teaching someone technically, doesn't mean you can't be at home gaining permission, making sure these players are psychologically okay, and also just getting to know them a bit better, making them still involved in football, especially as a coach. I feel like it's a coach's role to actually motivate and innovate that child, especially just to stay in and around football. Just let them know it's still there. Football hasn't gone. So just to finish off today's sort of podcast, we've got about 10-15 minutes left. We're actually going to talk about what we think a realistic solution is to combat both the nation's health and also what's happening at the moment. I'm going to throw a few solutions out to you, James, and you're going to give me your input on them. So first of all, done and dusted, void the season. What do you think?
I feel like as every day goes by, it seems that that's going to be the avenue that we're going to have to take, because it's getting to a point right now where every day goes by and like soon we're going to hit May, June, July, then August. You know, the new season starts around August. Players come back from pre-season in July are really going to affect the next season and the season after that and the season after that, because of this one season. I feel like that's a route that it gets realistic every single day.
Excellent. Perfect. Next one. What if we play the rest of the season when restrictions become less limited? What if we play the season behind closed doors? Say if we can, let's say behind closed doors, but there's no broadcasting.
No broadcasting?
No broadcasting yet.
I mean, we want to watch the games. You know,
definitely.
Like, the one thing we want to do, like at this moment in time, I think I've watched every documentary, every movie. Right now,
my Netflix is dry at the moment.
If there is football being played, I would like to watch it. You know,
definitely.
It's just like basketball. There's so many different solutions. Like they're thinking of doing there. Apparently, there was a rumor like they were going to get all the players, all the teams taken to Vegas. I saluted part of it. It's like it's like the Olympics where you have the Olympic Village, which is all the athletes there at once, and just keep a private section. That's a solution that they might have to take.
Do you know what? I hadn't thought of that. That's a good sort of idea that you come up with. You actually mentioned there that what the NBA is doing, especially in sort of trying to bring new ideas to the table. I know that on Saturday they brought out an NBA horse where players of different teams, old players, Hall of Famers, they're actually still televising basketball. Obviously, it's not a game. They're not continuing the season. But is this something that the Premier League could sort of try to look into, I know that England have done it through FIFA. Maybe try and do something a bit more life personal.
I feel like it's something that they're going to try to do at this moment in time. I've been watching Sky, and like they like seem to be doing this quiz thing where like it'll be
Okay.
Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville and like what another type of football player might come in. They might have a quiz. They're going to they FaceTime and interview different players. I'm not sure if there's a game like horse in football that we could play.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they can do that, but pretty sure there's different types of ways that they could just entertain us. You know, I wouldn't mind like us them bringing out documentaries or like little podcasts of like players just talking about the season, like having Jurgen Klopp speaking about his season, like his opinion on it, just hearing a bit more of a broadcast from like different players and like different managers.
definitely. I think we forget the personalities that these people have, especially with the likes of Klopp and even world famous players, Harry Kane, all these players. If we can get them to sort of broadcast, I know that some people don't have social media. If we can get that stuff broadcasted on television for everyone to watch, I think it would really benefit the game and keep everyone tuned in, so that when football does come back, there's no economic drop in the fan viewing or anything like that.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a Sky holder, you're probably fed up watching all the
The old games.
the rewind matches and like Premier League years. You've probably seen them twice in a row now.
Definitely. Next solution I've got for you, which is thinking outside the box a little bit, is to, when all the limitations and all restrictions are dropped, to continue the season as if it never stopped. What sort of problems would that occur?
I feel like it will cause a lot of problems, because even if this restriction does finally drop, there's still going to be a few people being affected. I feel like it's a thing that the whole world just, as soon as it drops, people still need to take it seriously, because it hasn't been cleared.
Definitely.
I want to get to a point where it's okay, if they go ahead, we're cleared of the virus, and now we can actually go back to normal life. I feel even if they drop the social distancing, there's still going to be a bit of wariness for the next month, 2 months or so, till like the whole thing actually clears up completely.
Excellent. What if, obviously we've got the World Cup coming up in 2022. Now at the moment it's being played in the winter time. It's being played, I believe, November through to January, if I remember correctly, along those lines. What if we were able to align the Premier League along the upcoming World Cup schedule? Would that be to have more of a summer Premier League and maybe cut out those winter periods? Do you think that is reasonable, or do you think that would, as you just said there, still people would see it as a disadvantage instead of taking advantage of what's coming up in the next 2 years?
Personally, I'm a traditionalist.
Okay.
You know, and since 2006, since I'm watching the World Cup, I've always used to a summer World Cup. Me hearing about the Winter World Cup, I generally I'm not a fan of it. The World Cup it's a culmination of football being played throughout the whole season, and it's that. And for me, it's always been a summer thing. You know, 2018, especially with the footballs coming home, was absolutely great. You know, to bring it to a winter time, Christmas time, I don't think it should be a feasible thing. There's also rumors of FIFA wanting to scrap the World Cup in 2022, and like instead of giving it to Qatar again, sending it to America or also England.
Definitely. So just to let you guys, I'll let James get off in a minute, but just to make you aware, James actually has a channel. James, you want to tell him about it?
It's Students of the Game Football. It's a YouTube channel where I also do podcasts there. I also do debates, even some coaching videos. I do really everything on it, to be fair. I also have an Instagram, students of the Game Academy, where I also post coaching videos there. So if you want to learn how to play like Sergio Busquets look at specific things in their game, have it on my social media.
Definitely, cheers, man. For all you guys listening or watching, I'd really recommend going and checking out James's stuff. Very technical in the detail he gives, and especially in these times, it's all stuff just like my stuff that I'm going to be posting out shortly. It's all for you to do at home. Little equipment. I'm sure you need one ball and maybe 4 cones. Even if you haven't got cones, just use socks. But the more support we can get as coaches, the more support we can give you through these times. But finally, James, thank you very much for coming on today. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule.
Thank you for having me.
That's fine, no problem. What I'll do is I'll leave James's social media accounts in the comments or the description, and hopefully you all stay safe, stay at home, and make sure that you tune in next time. Cheers, guys.